Buongiorno. Good morning. This is a day, like the last couple of days were complete madness. I'm trying to get back to myself. And so I think I'm locking myself into my apartment, like literally. I have no idea who I am any longer. And I really don't want to leave the house until I'm sure again. And that's really important. I mean, I'm just going to show you what it means to run around cities and help other people. Well, what it means is that you will eventually forget about yourself. And I've talked to you. I said sometimes I sit with homeless people that are alcoholics, completely stoned out of their wits. Actually, just one homeless person, but not only one. There's others coming, like weird people that shake my hands, that carry all kinds of burdens. There's women that I have the feeling, I'm just talking to you about what it means to grow spiritually and to be in a position where you realize you have something to give. And then to realize that people are afraid of it. Because first of all, why does he have so much to give? Why can he smile? Why does he walk barefoot? And how much of that can I have for myself? There's a very clear image that was presented to me by life. Sometimes I don't know, right? It's like, what's real? Who's real? Who are real people? If I read the Carlos Castaneda books, and he says there are sometimes humans that actually aren't humans, they're more like projections. They're more like, he calls it like allies. Sometimes I see a cat and I actually have to wonder, is that a cat now? Or is it like some kind of spirit thing watching me or something, right? It's like, it's a little bit weird. But that's the kind of stuff that's like the rat tail to spirituality that nobody really talks about. Well, what does happen if I open my third eye? Or if I took psychedelic mushrooms and they opened my third eye? What happens to me if I go to ayahuasca and I come back home? I listened a lot to Ram Dass, and he said that there was a guy who came to his lecture. He only came to his lecture. He heard him talk. And simply because he was confronted with all these terms and truth and, whatever, higher consciousness and stuff, he went back home and it was like knockout. He couldn't go to work anymore. Because when your energy starts to rise, it's going to push out everything else. All the lies that you are carrying around are being pushed out. Now, what are my lies? I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I walk through the city. I basically could love anyone. I could sleep with any woman. I'm telling you, not because, I'm just really horny and I want to have sex with everyone. No, because I acknowledge that I could actually give them something. But what happens if I start doing this? You have to think a little bit further than I really like to have sex. Because what does it mean to be a man? Yeah, sure, sex is nice. But sex is also something for having children. And I've had a lot of fun with sex, and I realized that didn't really enrich my experience. It actually made it much more uncomfortable. Because now I had to deal with all these emotional problems from other people that actually just wanted to have sex, where it wasn't about having a family, which also meant that it wasn't really serious. So yeah, sure, I did go and buy condoms, but I haven't used them yet. Right? It's like, I also installed Tinder once. Not now, but previously. And I did go home to one of them, and we did smoke a joint there. And then I looked at her stickers and left. I mean, really stickers. Because I realized I'm not really interested in sleeping with you. But I can still go to your place. I mean, it's not my problem that you think, I should have slept with you. Because I don't have to do that, right? And now I sometimes meet people. There's this beautiful Romanian woman. I mean, if you have any idea of, not in a bad sense, but just the term gypsy, a real gypsy woman. If you ever there's this book series called Inkheart, and there's this kind of wife of the guy with the fire, the pyromancer, I don't know, pyromancer, I don't know how you call him. It doesn't matter in a way. But what happened was, he had this woman and she was like a herb witch or something. And she was a bit like, I think, described like a gypsy, like very beautiful. And now I walk through the city and I see this young woman dressed in a bit like rags. And to me, she's more beautiful and more truthful than any other woman I've met. And I see her sitting there like a deer lost in the woods, like a fawn. It's a new word I learned, because I concerned myself with deer and I saw a dead fawn. And I thought that was a bad omen. And now it came back to me as an image. So what did that mean the other day? I went to the park. What did I do there? I slacklined, I think. And then I played frisbee with people, and then I walked. And I found some rocks where I thought, hey, I could boulder here. And then I wanted to continue, and I thought, I'm going to continue and walk, I don't know where. And then my path was blocked by the remains of a dead fawn. And I thought, what does that mean? I thought my path is blocked by death. I could have walked around it. I could have also just stepped over it. It was a narrow path. So walking around it would have been hard, but I could have managed. I could have stepped over it. But I decided to walk back. Simply go back where you came from. Now, why did I do that? Was it my fear chasing me? Was it really my death? If I would have continued there, what would have happened? Would I have died? Because they said there was a thunderstorm and I was planning to hike to ask nature for a sign. And to sit, I know there's this kind of open site, this kind of stone mining area. I said, I'm going to sit there. I'm going to see what's going to happen. But I didn't do that. Because I saw the fawn. And then I shat my pants and I walked back. And that's basically what I'm doing all the time. I have this apartment. Sometimes I just don't leave the house anymore. And now I did leave the house, and it was really a lot. I mean, I did a lot of stuff. And now I'm getting a little afraid because suddenly people are starting to pay attention. They seem to get to know me a little. And they seem to be a little bit shocked of what I can do. Not just physical, but also emotionally and energetically. And I know of other people who've been there, who walked around and who could channel energy like crazy. Just channeling it. And suddenly people say, who are you? And you're like, I'm nobody. So you want to carry, I'm just talking about it because to me this is real. Do you want to carry the burden of Christ? Because Christ is like center. Open the heart. The kingdom of heaven is within you and within me. It's within everything. If you discover that, you start channeling, you certainly can suddenly give people handshakes that are honest and truthful. Because everybody else, they shake your hands and they spit on it. And you just shake your hands and give a warm smile, and then suddenly they're like, oh wow, it's an honest smile, it's not a lie. And then they're like, you go to the park and you've played frisbee with some kids, and then they come back, could you stay a little longer and play frisbee with us? You're like, damn it, it's breaking my heart, but I really have to go home, man. You don't say it's breaking your heart, you just say, hey, why don't you just get your own frisbee, man? It's like, you have to, I feel like I have to, continue to set boundaries. But what does it also mean? That I come back and I'm in my apartment and everything I've seen suddenly, it's like comets hitting me. Like bam, like one punch of truth. It's like bam. I see this beautiful young Romanian woman. And I think, what can I do for you, I think? Because every time I see her, she says, I want money, or do you have food for my baby? And I know it's, she doesn't really want food or money. What she wants is love. And nobody gives her love. And now I come and say, hey, I have a smile for you. Like this. I have a smile for you. She says, I don't want to smile. I say, yeah, you do. No, I don't want to smile. Next time I see her, she's like hiding. Because suddenly she has to acknowledge, she has to see herself for who she actually is. This beautiful woman, and she thought nobody was seeing it. And now somebody comes and he's seeing it, but what else can I do for her? Because it's not money she wants. It's not food she wants. It's love she wants. It's a child she wants. I can tell. It's just sometimes Am I going to give her that child? But she's part of some kind of Romanian family tribe, or so I've been told. I've never actually talked to her. They say they're all criminals. You shouldn't give them anything. And then you think, what would happen? I would lose myself in her by trying to please her and give her what I think she wants. Right? She would use my ability to love and feel compassion for another man's or woman's suffering. She would use that to get a child out of me because maybe she thinks I'm rich or something. But I'm not rich. I'm the poorest guy there is, It's like, because I get nothing. Sure, I have all these things, but are they really mine? I don't know. So, even if I would have now millions of euros on my account, you can't just go around and take all women in and sleep with them. Because what else am I going to do then? Because sleeping with them is also merging with them. And there's also this kind of responsibility of the Spirit of Christ and the ideals that Christ is presenting. Which also means, another man's or woman's suffering is their suffering. And what does that mean? They have to learn to deal with it in their own way. And the best way to help another person is to believe in them and say, hey, I trust that you can manage to reach your own goals in your own way. But maybe I can help you a little, but sleeping with a woman isn't helping her a little. It's like, okay, no, now you have to take care of her, man, because you just claimed her. Yeah, I don't want it. If you let her drop now, you know what that means? She's gonna hate men, and she's gonna have nobody to take care of her, because that's the responsibility as a man that you have. When you sleep with a woman, you should also sleep with her and think, I'm going to take care of you now. Which means that sex is a very serious thing, which is why I do think a lot about it. But I also, if I feel like, I'm going nuts over it, and I'm on the verge of just sleeping with every woman that I meet, I'll just stay at home for a while. And then, yeah, sure, I'll just masturbate it out. Because I feel like I already have a woman that I feel indebted to. And I can't help it that she's doing something else right now. I can't help it that scares me. But I have to find ways to deal with it. And one way is to draw boundaries. But just to show you, it's not that bad. I'm just saying, it's not that bad. It could be worse. And you've seen worse messes. I also, I drink those 2 beer. There's all the food I carry. It's still around here. Right? It's like, it's not that bad. I mean, that's the kitchen. I mean, who does that? I mean, I do it. I could have cleaned that. So I didn't even feel to clean that. Didn't even clean that. But it's my mess. I like it. That's the weird part. You see, it's my mess. I have to take care of it. I'm uncertain about my place right now. I'm uncertain who to love and how much to love them. And I just finished 700 grams of Tahin. That's usually how it goes. If I buy Tahin, I'm at the end of the rope. If I buy Tahin at this moment, where I'm alone, then I'm gonna eat it till it's gone. I'm telling you, that's how it is. Yesterday I came back, I still drank coffee, and I made more of this porridge. And all I did was holding on. Because something is pushing through. I don't really know what. Yeah, you have to always let go, right? You love a woman, and then you kind of have to let go so that she can continue. Because now you think about these things. You think about this poor Romanian woman. She has to beg on the streets, but maybe she likes it even, because she's helping her family survive, Maybe it is like this. And we say they are being forced to do this. Maybe they just accept their place. And my place is not sitting next to Romanian women. That's just what I figured out. Not because I don't want it, but because there's already a woman. And every time I try to love someone else, or play wife and husband with someone else, I'm being reminded, but there is already someone. And so I'm just going through it in my mind. Where would this go? I would sit next to her. She would warm up to me. She would take me to a park, and then she would just screw me on a bench or something. And then I think about, wait, would we use a condom? Could I get sick from this? Like, would she cling to me then? Yeah, she certainly would. So if I'm not honest about loving a woman, you know, I better not do anything with her at all. Because she's going to remind me in her own way that I slept with her and merged with her and was one with her. And now I want to push her away. It's true. I'm a real coward. But so is she. That's what I say. That's what I see. And because she's a coward, I want to be a coward too. Because I'm afraid that if she's a coward, she's going to sleep with other guys. And that she didn't really want me to be her husband in the first place. You know, I was just the one who was there and had a penis, right? It's like, okay, does she really love me? So sometimes I just have to come to terms with myself. And get back to that place of heaven where I say, all right, here I actually kind of know again where the path is going. I'm glad I made all these discoveries. About clinging. And as much as I hate it, it's also great fun. But I'm still clinging. Yeah. Anyway, these are just some of the things that have been going through my mind. And in order to renounce all worldly desires, you have to actually merge into life. Right? In order to transcend yourself, you have to also really live. And that's always the feeling that I have. I could live like a monk. I certainly could. In the forest. Yeah? I could also be like others. I don't know, maybe like Gandhi. But I'm not. You know, I'm the guy who wants to jump off cliffs into the ocean. I'm the guy who wants to go hiking at night. I don't have to sit around a spinning wheel all my life, right? So I don't have to give these really inspiring speeches because ultimately nobody gives a shit anyway. Because those are just romanticized words, right? I read this autobiography of a yogi and I realize this is a little child talking. You know, I don't really care what his spirit is, but this guy would have been the first one to die in the battlefields of Valhalla, right? He would be the first guy to die in Valhalla. You know, trust me. And probably I would be the one that would have done the job. Because I would have thought, you weak fucker, you know, I will vanquish you and quench my thirst for idiots. And that's the same people as politicians. They just stand around like, oh yeah, Gandhi, you are the true father of India. What the fuck, man? Do you have no shame? Flattering others like this to get into their favor? And that also pisses me off when I read the Carlos Castaneda books. Because Carlos Castaneda was a real disgusting prick, man. The only reason Don Juan talked to him was, I believe, because he knew that that guy would write books about it. But Carlos Castaneda himself was just a power-hungry prick. He didn't really like Don Juan. He just stuck with him because he felt this guy is powerful and I can learn something from him and I need these people. You know, yesterday I met someone. Yeah, I've met him before. And we've talked and then we stand there and, you know, we talk and he starts smoking. You know what that is? When people, you know, when you have a conversation and then they relax into it and then they start smoking. You know what that is? That's like you giving them a blowjob. It literally is. It's the energy. It's like, oh yeah, They listen to you and you say things, but when you leave, they just take it for themselves, right? That's why if I would teach him something, first of all, he wouldn't be able to continue with it unless I would be around pushing him, which I'm not gonna do. And second of all, he's just leeching off of other people's knowledge, and I really don't like that. It's like this weaseling into other people's insights. You could be growing yourself, but you decide to stand around smoking, right? It's like, why? You know, why? So you don't sit around parks and drink alcohol and drown yourself in misery because you want somebody to see you and say, are you all right? No. When you feel shit, you retreat home. That's what I do, right? I take care of my own burden. Of course, if you're in a really bad place, you shouldn't drink alcohol at all. But if I feel shit, I drink alcohol inside, and then I deal with the shit that I'm facing. So that when I go outside, I can take more shit from people. And then I can go back inside and deal with that shit. And that's why it looks like this. Because I'm more concerned with people's shit. But then I also have to deal with it. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. And yeah, there are things I really don't want to say. I really mean that. Yeah. But there was a time when I was with a woman that was pregnant. I told you about it. And I was very unbalanced. And then she gave birth and I was there, and it was a very traumatizing birth. Because she had trouble letting go. And so she tightened up, and then pressure builds, and voila. First you have like hours of giving birth, and then 1 hour of getting stitched back together. Yeah, and then I helped carry her home, or the burden of her experience of becoming a mother. And then I helped her for 2 months with her son. And for some time I thought I was going to be a father, but I realized I just don't manage. And now don't think of me, well, think whatever you want, because I know what happened and I was there. I remember one night, don't ask me why, man. Ask me why. And I said I would take care of the child, right? And I tried to, and he fell asleep next to me on the couch, and she wanted to go to bed and sleep there because she just didn't have any love for me. Not really. Although it wasn't my child, and I did go through to her with all of these things, she still kept giving me her shit. And at one point you just say it's enough. And I was looking for a way out of it, I'm honest. And then what happened was, I was just sitting next to the kid. And for some reason I opened my pants and I started playing with my penis. This was not like this is hard to talk about, by the way. But now I just said, you know, whatever. I wasn't really doing anything, I was just playing with it, because that's what I did most of my life, right? When I'm bored, I start playing with my penis. And the door to the living room had a glass window. And suddenly she was standing in there. I was like, what are you doing? And that was certainly one event that led to me being able to end the relationship. Because most of my life I felt like, actually like a slave to women. Because they can also give pleasure, yeah, but also I can give pleasure. And I never met a woman that really appreciated the pleasure and the presence that I have. They all just took it for granted. And I've been basically looking for a woman that would be able to appreciate me and I haven't really, I think, found one yet. It's hard to say. But the point is, you know, that's the things we sometimes do to get out of things. Now, she reacted with fear when she saw me sitting next to her child, which she also constantly rubbed into my face. It's my child, yeah? Okay, then have a blast, and leave me out of it. Yeah, when I was gone, she wanted me back. I said sorry, but that's it. Because it would have been the same thing over and over again. And so, if she would have loved me and seen what I did for her, and really wanted me around, you know what she could have done? She could have said, hey, what's wrong? And she could have come to me and she could have cuddled with me, but she didn't. She took her son away and left me sitting there alone. Which says she had no love for me. Because if she judges me for that, and if that is her reason to leave me, then she wasn't interested in me. She just wanted a cock around that made her job easier. And that's the way it is. And that certainly has shaped me in many ways, certainly in the way that I'm going to make sure if a woman really wants me or just some kind of cock. And that means I'm basically doing what all women always did to me, which is playing hard to catch. Which means if there is a woman that really wants me, only me, then I will make it really hard for her to prove it. She really would have to want to catch me. And I'm gonna struggle all the way. I'm gonna scream at her, I'm gonna push her away until she finds a way to love me anyway. Because I'm not like this, not really. But I react. If somebody comes and acts like they have an interest, well, I'm gonna find out pretty quickly if they really have an interest. Like that guy I was talking about, who just then relaxes into smoking his cigarette while I do the talking. And then he can go around and talk to other people of what he learned from me, but he doesn't have the balls to do anything for it. And I worked hard to get to where I am. And I didn't get there because I was standing around talking to people all the time. You know, I started to listen. But I also applied what I learned, which is something most people never do. So yesterday when he put on his cigarette, I said, yeah, I'm not gonna smoke your cigarette this time. What do you mean, he says then. So yeah, when you smoke, I inhale that shit as well. And then I just left. And then he said something casual. Maybe he was glad I left. But I actually don't think so. Because scared people like to be around people that give them a feeling of stability. But my mentality is do it yourself. You want to have stability? Then work on yourself until you figured it out. Because who of the people that I meet on the streets helps me to carry my burden? Nobody. Nobody. So I choose how much I give. And when I feel like I'm losing it, I'm going insane, I don't know what to do anymore, I do whatever I can. And sometimes I have to eat insane amounts of food. I mean, Tahin, it's like power, raw power. It doesn't really matter how much of anything. It's like 53% fat and I'm just eating it like this. Sure, now I put oats on top, but the other 700 grams, it's like one day. So I use what I can to stay on top, but there's a cost for it. I know there's some kind of I feel like you need something from the world to do what you're doing. Because eating helps me to transform energy. And the reason that you can see that I'm not just using eating for selfish pleasure is that I'm not fat. I can eat lots of sugar and lots of stuff, but I don't gain weight because I use that energy to transform stuff. So that I can go back out in the streets and do something. That's why I talk about transitions, because the kind of food that I eat and the amount of food that I eat has changed. So I'm learning to do it by myself a little bit better. But it's still tough. And that's why I'm also saying I couldn't work what people would make or would consider a normal job. It just doesn't work for me. Because when I spend time somewhere, I naturally give things to people, and then they start getting greedy when they want more out of it. Right? Some people want power, so they would stick around and listen to me for selfish reasons. Some people want love and sex and security. But in the end, they're all symptoms of fear. And that's when Don Juan says that he doesn't know how to make himself inaccessible, that he's too available. And sometimes I make myself available. And that was the omen I received. I was in the forest. Nah. I just mentioned it now. But this has to sink in a little. Because some of these omens are just my omens. But there are omens. You just have to pay attention. That's what it means. You just have to pay attention. Whatever the dead fawn means, and what it means to you. It's not what it means to me, it's what it means to you. And when I read that book, and Carlos Castaneda just acts like, oh, I don't know this, he's just a lazy prick. He's just a lazy prick. And he was just lying all the way. He didn't experience anything of what Don Juan tried to teach him. He just used words to make himself look like. He experienced things. And why? Because Don Juan talked to him about it. Don Juan explained to him what he experienced, and then Carlos Castaneda used those words to explain what he was told he experienced, but he didn't really experience it. Because he wasn't concerned with really doing this. He was just greedy because he wanted to be a renounced researcher. He thought, I'm gonna get really famous with this. And that's why he kept coming back. But I do believe that Don Juan was aware of it. And that he did tell him anyway because he received omens. And these omens told him, for whatever reason, this weird kind of man needs to learn these things. And that's why Don Juan even encouraged him to take notes. Because Don Juan realized that he had to pass on the spirit that he was living in. Not to Carlos Castaneda, but to other people that would come afterwards, that could learn from this. Because to Carlos Castaneda, it didn't really mean shit. You know, I'm just saying it, but that's the same as Ramdas. Because what happened after his guru died or left his body, you know, he became fat and he started eating meat again. He didn't do any yogic practices. So what good did it do? Well, he was somebody who was kind of living in between two worlds. He was taken away from, I'm a psychologist in America, and he was brought to some kind of enlightened being, taught certain things, and then he could talk about them. But he also used other people's words. Sure, I'm also doing that in a way. But the reason I'm doing it is because I want you to listen to Don Juan yourself. Just listen to him, you know, or listen to Ramdas, you know, I don't really care. You can also listen to me. I don't know if my things are restructured. Plus, I'm also really stuck on having sex and whatever an eating disorder is. The point is, you know, Ramdas wasn't really honest about doing what he did. He just did it so that he could be close to Maharaji. He didn't really do it out of his own desire to learn how to do yoga. No, he just did it because he wanted to do good. He wanted to make up for maybe what he thought were his past mistakes. He just wanted to feel good all the time. And he felt good in the presence of Maharaji, so he just did all the things that he thought Maharaji would like in him. Even after his death, actually he didn't. So he was more like a child. It's like really weird, but that's just how it is. And then I'm asking myself, what do I have to lean on in terms of faith? Nothing. I don't have a God. You know, God to me is a word. And that's the truth. I believe that we can do better, right? I trust in life. And I want to help life. But what I see in this society isn't life, it's just death. And it's disgusting and it's toxic. And sure, it maybe has its own beauty, but what I'm interested in is helping nature. And that also means the true nature in humans, right? To awaken them so that they realize, what are we doing here? This is so stupid. We don't need cars. We don't need sugar. I mean, the only reason I have to eat this much is I have to live in this weird, secluded way. In separation, everybody's full of hate. So yeah, sure, I'm trying to get love out of food. But the food is so empty because of this weird industrial revolution. The food is so empty, it's basically devoid of any nature, that I have to eat tons of it to feel even the least bit satisfied. And plus, the people who are owning restaurants and who are working as chefs, they don't work for love. They don't work because they have love to give. They work for money. They work so that other people could say, oh wow, what a great chef. You know, they don't do it because they just feel like doing it. They do it because they want to get something out of it. They want to feel good about themselves. If you really have something to give, I'm just telling you, you give it, but you know a part of you will have to suffer for this. Because if you give somebody something, like really give something, then you have to take on some of their karma, some of their negativity. If I give someone advice, I may even have to deal with the consequences of their actions because they're stupid. And that's why in Lord of the Rings, right, it's like Glorfindel, I think, who says, yeah, we don't really like giving advice, the elves. And I get that. And that's why I also like to stretch out my content so that people, you know, if they don't like me, you know, they can't just pretend to like me and then listen to hours of my content. You know, if you don't like Ramdas, you won't listen to him ever. Because he doesn't fit your model. You know, that's from him. The word is, now it connected. And now I could actually say it myself. Because it came as an insight. Zzz. And some people, you know, they just read things others came up with. They don't make their own experiences. They don't go out there and live what they read about. They just read it and then they repeat it and then they're like, ah, now I look really smart. I know many people like this. Most people are like this. And sure, why not? Maybe there's a part of me that's like this as well. But I also see that it's also temptation. That you just continue to give because now you want to get something out of it. Right? I want to give something to women so that they will give me sex back. That's then greed. And so you can make a choice. You can say, okay, I stop giving now. And if she really wants it, then she'll come and get it. And then I know it's honest, because then she put in the work, right? So the guy I was talking about, if he would really want to know what I'm trying to teach him, because I told him stop smoking, man. It's like, he's like standing in front of me coughing, I slap his chest. I say, you have to get this out. Now this is some good advice. But if he doesn't follow it, because he's too proud to stop smoking, sorry, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to try and force you because you want to play catch? You want to play right and wrong? I don't give a shit if you die from lung cancer because you couldn't get rid of your trauma or something. I'm just giving you a hint. The reason you're smoking is because there's some kind of sadness in you. And you have to get it out. And if your wife is like picking on you for your weakness, then you have to say, wait a second. She's my wife. Isn't she supposed to also take care of me a little? No, because that's what she's been trying. She's been trying to push you, and you just run away and pretend there's something wrong with your car, and then you stand around there and pretend like you're fixing something because you are too afraid to face your wife. And so you stand outside and you smoke. While you could be doing planks and reading about things. Why am I the way I am? Why do I feel terrible? Why am I afraid of my own wife? Because some women are monsters. They're like, yeah, so you have to equal them. There's one woman that scared me a little once. I have mixed feelings about her. Maybe it's one of those love-hate relationships, but those make the greatest sex. Because when you say, I love you so much that I hate you, it's like in that movie Her, when they have this flashback and she says to him, I love you so much I want to kill you. Yeah, that's the best foundation for a family. Because when love hurts, when love stings a little, when it makes you a little bit angry, you can use that anger to fire the love instead of try to break it. And that's what people don't get, how to be passionate with a woman. They just think they have to smash it with their righteous, masculine arm. No. With the right one you push, and with the left one you mold, I think, right? I'm just making it up as I go. But this is like the strong side. You can really keep people down with this. That's the arm of the suppressor. It's the righteous male side. Bam! That's the left side. It's the feminine side. Right side. It's giving and taking. I don't know what is what. I would say this is giving. Yeah, taking, I don't know. Taking and molding, that's why I say that. Is you put something in and then you move it around. There is something to this. Because both sides have different kind of properties. You also have 2 ticks at the moment. Don't copy me if you're uncertain about what you're doing, but I leave them on. Because they do some kind of acupuncture, and I once had some kind of a vision or a dream on psychedelic mushrooms at night in the forest, and I woke up. And it came to me, and it's the poem that I wrote. It's on Medium, and it's called The Healing Itch. You know, I'm sick of telling you everything here. You have to work for what you want to know. And I've already wrote something about it. And it's called The Healing Itch. And it's on my website in the poetry section. And it's also on Medium. So go look it up. Because I'm not here to give you everything as easy as you want to have it. At the moment, I really feel like talking because everything's just overwhelming. And now I feel like I'm sick of talking and want to do something else. So it's either I clean this apartment or I leave, go to the park and just play with some kids or something, right? It's like, I don't know you at all, so learn to know yourself.